The gates of Empire University creaked open as an unexpected figure walked in, capturing the attention of anyone within sight. The young man, exuding confidence and elegance, looked like he belonged in the boardroom of a skyscraper, not in the chaotic world of this notorious college. He was strikingly well-dressed, every detail of his attire speaking to wealth and power. His presence was a stark contrast to the college's crumbling walls and graffiti-streaked hallways. Empire University was the most unruly campus in the city, infamous for its lawlessness and racial hostility. In a place where students regularly bullied black newcomers until they left, this new arrival was an anomaly. Whispers spread like wildfire through the campus as he made his way toward the main building. "Who is he?" some murmured, confused by his assured stride. "What's a guy like him doing here?" others asked. The intrigue was only amplified by the fact that no one here, not even the staff, had seen a black man walk in without fear or hesitation. He looked around, unbothered by the murmurings and cold stares, as if he was observing a place he'd just bought. As he walked through the corridors, he noticed the state of the school firsthand: damaged lockers, litter on the floor, and even graffiti slurs sprawled across the walls. Students moved in groups, some laughing loudly, others throwing mocking glances his way. He could feel their skepticism. The faint glint of a mocking smile crept onto his lips, but he quickly erased it, keeping his expression unreadable. This wasn't his first time walking into hostile territory, but he felt something different here, a resistance and malice unlike anything he'd encountered. As he reached his assigned classroom, the chatter and sneers grew louder. He knew these weren't just whispers of curiosity. They were warnings, each word dripping with contempt, but he stepped into the room without pause, his chin high, shoulders squared. He was here to make an impression, though not the kind they expected. 2. A classroom of hatred. The classroom was a chaotic scene. The moment he stepped inside, the energy shifted. The students, who had been laughing and talking amongst themselves, turned their attention to him with sneers and narrowed eyes. His presence alone seemed to disturb them. He could see it in the way they exchanged glances, sharing silent plans of confrontation. Undeterred, he walked calmly to the front of the room, took up a marker, and began writing on the board. It started small, a whispered insult, a mocking laugh, but the tension quickly escalated. Some students threw crumpled papers, others flicked pens in his direction. "Who does he think he is?" one voice muttered, louder than the rest. A group at the back laughed, egging each other on. A water bottle cap flew across the room, narrowly missing him, but he continued writing, unaffected. The classroom buzzed with a malicious energy as students watched him, expecting him to lose his temper. Then came the insults, louder now, their voices dripping with disrespect. "Get out! No one wants you here!" shouted one of the ringleaders, his voice filled with mockery. Someone threw a wadded-up piece of paper, hitting the new teacher's shoulder. Another student followed suit, tossing a small object at him as others joined in, laughing at their audacity. He turned around, facing them for the first time, and the room fell silent. But instead of the anger they expected, he simply looked at them with a slight, almost amused smile. This calm, unshaken reaction caught them off guard. No one had ever responded like this before. Most black teachers and students in the past had left immediately, refusing to face the relentless bullying. His reaction was unexpected and confusing, and that frustrated them even more. For the next hour, the jeers continued, but his demeanor remained unchanged. Every insult, every thrown object, he met with silence and composure. The students' attempts to provoke him grew more desperate, but nothing seemed to reach him. Some students began to grow uncomfortable with their actions, seeing that he wasn't reacting the way they anticipated. His calmness was like a mirror, reflecting their own cruelty back at them. Finally, the class ended. He set down the marker, turned back to face the room, and thanked them for their attention as though nothing unusual had happened. "I look forward to seeing you all tomorrow," he said with a smile that was as disarming as it was sincere. With that, he left the room, his calm demeanor leaving them in stunned silence. 3. An unexpected proposal. The next stop was the staff room, where whispers had already reached the faculty about the billionaire in their midst. Some teachers exchanged uneasy glances as he entered, wondering why someone so wealthy would choose to teach at this notorious institution. His polished appearance and calm composure were out of place in a school known more for violence and rebellion than for academics, but he moved through the room with the same confidence he'd shown in the classroom, asking one question: "Where can I find Mr. Bennett, the owner?" The staff hesitated, but directed him to an office down the hall. As he walked, they stared, confused and curious, already speculating about his intentions. Was he here to make a statement? To challenge the notorious culture of Empire University? But as he entered Mr. Bennett's office and closed the door behind him, they could only wonder. Inside the office, Mr. Bennett, an aging man with tired eyes, looked up in surprise. "I'm Noah Reed," the young man introduced himself, his voice steady and commanding. Bennett immediately recognized the name, a wealthy, influential figure who'd made headlines for his success in tech. But why was he here? Bennett gestured for him to sit, still processing the sight of a man who had no reason to set foot in a place like Empire University. Without wasting time, Noah leaned forward, his gaze intense. "I want to buy this college," he said simply. Bennett blinked, taken aback by the directness of the statement. He'd expected curiosity, perhaps an offer to fund a program or two, but buying the entire college? It seemed absurd, especially since the institution had become a burden. Student enrollment was dwindling, and the school's reputation had been tarnished by years of unchecked hostility and violence. Bennett shifted uncomfortably in his chair. "Why would you want to buy a place like this?" he asked, searching Noah's face for any hint of motive. But Noah's expression remained unreadable. "Because this place has potential," Noah replied, choosing his words carefully. "I believe that with the right leadership, Empire University can become a respected institution. I want to give it a second chance." He paused, noting the skepticism in Bennett's gaze. "And I believe I can turn it around." Bennett hesitated. He was tired, weary from years of managing a school that had only brought him headaches and losses. The thought of selling, of leaving the problems behind, was tempting. Besides, who would want to inherit a place like this with its reputation and dwindling enrollment? He weighed his options, glancing at the offer Noah had quietly placed on the table, a sum that was more than generous. The decision was clear. Within the hour, Bennett had agreed to sell Empire University to Noah. They shook hands, and as Bennett signed over ownership, he felt a strange sense of relief. The school, with all its baggage, was now someone else's responsibility. Noah stood up, extending his hand with a firm grip. "Thank you, Mr. Bennett. I assure you, Empire University is in good hands." Leaving the office, Noah's expression changed, a glint of determination in his eyes. His calm facade concealed his plans, but in his mind, everything was already in motion. Empire University would no longer be a place of hostility and chaos. He had a vision for it, one that would demand complete transformation. As he exited the building, the staff watched him leave, wondering about the meeting's outcome. None of them could have imagined that the institution they knew was now under new ownership, that a revolution was brewing, and that soon the Empire University they had known would no longer exist. The transformation begins. With the winter break underway, Empire University stood empty, its hallways silent and deserted. This was the opportunity Noah had been waiting for. The very next day, the campus was a hive of activity, but not from students. Instead, contractors and technicians streamed in, guided by Noah's vision for the transformation. Workers painted over graffiti, replaced broken windows, and polished every surface until the school began to shine with a new life. In the lecture halls and corridors, security teams installed CCTV cameras, covering every corner of the campus. Noah wanted every inch of the college monitored. It was part of his plan to curb the rampant bullying and create a safe, respectful environment. The students would return to a world far different from the one they'd left behind, but the changes went beyond security and aesthetics. Noah was determined to reshape the college from within. He fired several staff members who had contributed to the toxic culture or turned a blind eye to the students' behavior, replacing them with carefully selected faculty, a mix of black, white, and diverse backgrounds. The classrooms, once dingy and damaged, were now modern and inviting, filled with updated furniture and equipment. Inspirational quotes lined the freshly painted walls, while the school's library, once neglected, was restocked with new books and resources. The main hall now boasted a mural depicting unity and diversity, symbolizing the new values Noah wanted to instill. Over the break, Noah oversaw every detail, ensuring the college reflected his vision. He even arranged a code of conduct to be implemented immediately upon the students' return, setting clear expectations for behavior and consequences. Empire University would become a place of growth and respect, or the students would find themselves out. 5. A silent warning. When students returned to Empire University after winter break, they were greeted by a sight they could hardly believe. What had once been a neglected, chaotic campus was now transformed into a pristine, organized environment. The walls were freshly painted, the graffiti scrubbed clean, and the broken windows replaced with sturdy glass that glistened in the winter sunlight. New furniture filled the classrooms, and the hallways seemed to radiate a renewed sense of purpose. Students who were used to the rundown, rule-free school felt an immediate shift in the atmosphere. Yet beyond the new decor, one change stood out above all else: the CCTV cameras. They were everywhere, perched above doorways, covering every classroom, hallway, and common area. No corner was left unwatched. As students entered, they found their reflections caught in the lenses, and a realization began to dawn. Every move they made was now being monitored. Whispers spread like wildfire. Groups of students gathered in tense huddles, eyes flickering up to the cameras. The troublemakers, the ones who had dominated the school with bullying and intimidation, laughed it off at first, claiming the cameras wouldn't change anything. "What can he do? Watch us all day," one of them scoffed. But others weren't so sure. There was a new set of rules posted on the walls, clearly stating a strict zero-tolerance policy against harassment, bullying, and violence, each violation carrying real consequences. Empire University had never had such rules, much less enforced them, and the students were unsure if they were just for show or if something had genuinely shifted. The air was thick with uncertainty when Noah entered his first class after the break. As he walked in, there was a visible reaction from the students, an uncomfortable shuffle, a few rolled eyes, but mostly silence. Noah began his lesson calmly, his tone steady, but a few students were still bold enough to try testing him. One student in the back whispered a snide comment, earning a few scattered chuckles. Another crumpled a piece of paper and flicked it in his direction. When Noah turned around, he met the eyes of the culprits directly. His gaze was steady and unflinching, a silent message of resolve that seemed to unsettle them. He continued with the lesson, completely unfazed as the cameras recorded every move. By the end of the day, it was clear that the cameras were not just for show. Noah made his way to the surveillance room, where he reviewed the footage from the day. He took note of each moment of disrespect, of each student who thought the cameras would go ignored. For the first time, he had undeniable proof of the disruptive behavior that had plagued the school for so long. Noah meticulously reviewed each frame, gathering the evidence he needed to ensure accountability. Quietly, he arranged for a meeting with the parents of the worst offenders, scheduling it for the following week. He knew that facing their parents would be a turning point for many of these students who had never been confronted for their behavior. The students quickly caught wind of the upcoming parent-teacher conference, and the anxiety began to ripple through the campus. The very ones who had laughed at the cameras now grew nervous, realizing that there would be consequences for actions they'd once thought untouchable. For days, rumors spread through the halls. Some students were angry, others frightened, and a few even seemed relieved that things were finally changing. The quiet, unyielding presence of the cameras and the impending meeting marked a turning point. For the first time, Empire University's students felt the weight of accountability, and they understood that this wasn't the school they had known before. Noah's silent warning had been heard, and as the parent-teacher meeting drew closer, even the most defiant students began to wonder if they could ignore the new order. It was clear now, Empire University had changed, and the days of chaos and unrestrained behavior were coming to an end. 6. The Reckoning. The day of the parent-teacher meeting arrived, enveloping Empire University in an atmosphere charged with tension and anticipation. Parents filled the auditorium, their faces a mixture of concern, confusion, and curiosity. Many had heard the rumors circulating about the school's new owner and the strict changes he had implemented. As they took their seats, the sense of unease was palpable. They had come to understand that the issues facing their children extended far beyond the classroom. Noah stood at the front, his presence commanding attention. The parents were drawn to him, a young black man with a vision that contrasted starkly with the institution's troubled past. He introduced himself and explained the reason for the meeting: to address the behavior of certain students, behaviors that had tarnished the reputation of the school and in turn reflected poorly on their families. "Today," he said, his voice steady and unwavering, "we'll confront the actions that have disrupted our community and learn how we can work together to forge a new path forward." He began the meeting by playing selected clips from the surveillance footage collected since the start of the semester. The large screen flickered to life, displaying moments of blatant bullying, disrespect, and intimidation. The clips featured familiar faces, and gasps rippled through the audience as parents watched their children act out in ways they had never imagined. The footage revealed students laughing as they hurled insults, snickering while tossing objects at teachers, and engaging in physical altercations, all under the watchful eyes of the cameras. As the last clip played, silence enveloped the room. Noah turned his gaze to the parents, his expression a mix of compassion and seriousness. "These actions are unacceptable," he stated firmly. "They don't just reflect poorly on the school, they reflect on you, on the values you instill in your children. Today, we have the opportunity to change this narrative, but it requires accountability." One of the more vocal students, Jake, sat in the back, arms crossed defiantly. He had been one of the worst offenders in the clips, and his cheeks burned with embarrassment and anger. Fueled by a mix of resentment and bravado, he stood up and shouted, "Why should we listen to you? Who do you think you are? You're just a teacher." The room fell silent, every eye on Noah. For a moment it seemed as though Jake's bravado might intimidate him. But Noah stepped forward, his demeanor calm, yet fierce. "I'm not just a teacher. I'm the one who is here to help you grow into responsible adults," he replied, his voice steady. "Your ignorance and disrespect won't be tolerated anymore. You need to understand that words and actions have consequences." Noah turned his attention to Jake's parents, who sat stunned. "It's time to hold our children accountable," he said, gesturing to the footage. "What I see here isn't just rebellion. It's a reflection of the values taught at home. I'm asking for your support in making it clear that this behavior is unacceptable." The tension in the room escalated, but Noah's resolve didn't waver. He had prepared for this moment, knowing that change could not happen in a vacuum. "I'm giving Jake an opportunity," he continued. "He will work as a custodian for a week alongside our staff. If he learns respect for those who maintain this school and shows a willingness to change, he may stay. Otherwise, he will be asked to leave." Jake's eyes widened in disbelief, and he opened his mouth to protest, but his parents quickly silenced him with stern looks. The realization that they had no choice but to support Noah's decision hung heavily in the air. With reluctance, they nodded, signaling their agreement. "He will do it," Jake's father stated, his voice heavy with resignation. "He needs to learn." Noah's voice softened, though it retained its firmness. "I appreciate your willingness to take this step. This is not just about punishment, it's about growth. If Jake can show he understands the value of respect and hard work, we can begin to heal the damage that has been done." The parents left the meeting with a mix of emotions, shame for their children's behavior, but also a newfound respect for Noah's leadership. As they walked out of the auditorium, discussions sparked among them, their conversations a blend of concern for their kids and a shared determination to support this necessary change. Meanwhile, within the school, a ripple of fear and unease spread among the students. Those who had laughed off the cameras and disregarded Noah's authority now realized that their actions would have real consequences. The reckoning had begun, and the students understood that Empire University was no longer a place where they could hide behind bravado and bullying. Noah watched as the parents left, a sense of hope blossoming within him. He knew that this was just the beginning. With accountability in place and a united front, Empire University was on a path toward true transformation. The days of unchecked behavior and intimidation were numbered, and together they would create a culture rooted in respect, learning, and growth. 7. A legacy reborn. The weeks following the parent-teacher meeting marked a pivotal shift at Empire University. The atmosphere that once crackled with hostility now hummed with an undercurrent of respect and renewed purpose. As the dust settled from the reckoning, Noah watched with cautious optimism as students began to adapt to the new culture he had fostered. The halls that had once echoed with taunts and jeers now buzzed with collaborative discussions and laughter, the sounds of learning in full swing. Jake's week of working as a custodian became a turning point, not just for him, but for many of his classmates. He approached the job with an initial reluctance, his pride bruised. But as the days passed, he discovered the dignity in hard work. The custodial staff welcomed him, sharing stories and imparting wisdom. They taught him the importance of respect, both for oneself and for others. For the first time, he experienced what it meant to contribute meaningfully to the community. And as he did, he found himself feeling lighter, less burdened by the need to assert dominance through cruelty. Word of Jake's transformation spread throughout the school. Other students who had once aligned with him began to reassess their actions. They watched as he took pride in his work, transforming from a bully into a young man who actively sought to make amends. Noah, recognizing the potential for change in others, encouraged this newfound sense of accountability. He began a mentorship program, pairing students like Jake with those who had struggled in silence, fostering an environment of support rather than ridicule. The program quickly gained traction. Students signed up, eager to engage in meaningful projects that would benefit the local community. They organized charity events, tutoring programs, and cleanup drives, which not only helped others, but also instilled a sense of pride and responsibility in themselves. The school's spirit began to flourish as students worked side by side, regardless of their backgrounds or previous conflicts. Noah watched from the sidelines, his heart swelling with pride as he saw the profound impact of these initiatives. He had envisioned a legacy of respect and unity, and slowly it was taking shape. Each day, the school felt less like an institution marked by its troubled history and more like a family united by shared goals and aspirations. The success stories of transformation poured in, from students who had once struggled academically to those who had been marginalized. They all began to find their voices, and in doing so, they learned to uplift one another. As the semester drew to a close, Noah planned a celebration to honor the students' achievements and to solidify the changes that had taken root. The event, dubbed Legacy Day, was meant to showcase the hard work and dedication of the students and the faculty who had supported them. The school auditorium was transformed into a vibrant space, adorned with banners showcasing the various projects and initiatives students had undertaken. On the day of the celebration, families filled the auditorium, and the atmosphere buzzed with excitement. Students presented their projects, sharing their experiences and the lessons they had learned. The pride radiating from the stage was palpable as Jake stood before the crowd, now a confident young man ready to share his story. "I was once a bully," he began, his voice steady but filled with emotion. "But through hard work and the support of my friends and teachers, I've learned what it means to respect myself and others. I am grateful for the opportunity to change, and I hope to inspire others to do the same." As he spoke, the audience listened intently, and Noah felt a rush of pride. The changes they had fought for were no longer just ideas. They were a living, breathing reality. The parents, once skeptical, now watched their children with admiration, their hearts swelling as they witnessed the evolution of their community. At the end of the event, Noah stepped up to the podium, overwhelmed by the transformation he had witnessed. "Today we celebrate not just the achievements of our students, but the spirit of resilience and change that has taken root here at Empire University. Together, we have built a legacy reborn from the ashes of disrespect into one of unity and growth." The crowd erupted into applause, and Noah's heart swelled with gratitude. In that moment, he knew that Empire University was more than just a school. It was a symbol of hope, proving that change was not only possible, but inevitable when driven by determination and a commitment to doing what was right. As the students and families mingled, laughter and conversation filled the air, and Noah looked around, feeling the weight of his journey dissolve. He understood that while the challenges ahead would be numerous, they were now equipped with the tools to face them together. Empire University had been reborn, and with it came a legacy of respect, empowerment, and unwavering support, one that would guide future generations as they walked the halls, united in purpose and driven to succeed.